Let's go shopping for a 2x2 audio interface. Now, the 2x2 audio interface is possibly one of the most popular configurations for use in a home studio setup. In this video, I've gathered together most of the 2x2 interfaces that I think are worth considering if you're a DAW user whose needs are very basic. Then we'll compare them to help narrow down your personal choices as I explain the different features you should be looking for. For most of my research, I use Sweetwater, which lists the majority of what is currently available, but I did find a few that were not listed there. The prices you see on my list and in some of the screenshots are in US dollars as of January 2024. They are, of course, just approximate and subject to change. I went to each manufacturer's website to double-check which models are up to date, look for specs, and then I check for the ASIO driver, and I would also compare which free goodies come with them. I find that I get more of an insight into the company's quality and what's going on with them by visiting their website. It gives you an overview of, say, how hard is it going to be to find the manual, and if I need driver updates, are they right there, and what's their support like. And while you're there, you can see what they list as the free goodies you get with your interface. 2x2 interfaces are in the lowest price point category. There's a lot of them that are under $200. The M Audio Solo was definitely the lowest price at $50, and it came with ASIO drivers. Its only big negative is it was only 16-bit, but for many it might be the big step up from using your computer's audio system. I only found 4 that didn't have ASIO drivers. The Behringer UM2 and UMC22, and then there was the ART Dual Pre and the ART USB 2. These are therefore more or less useless to PC users, but if you're using a Mac, they might be fine. So I made this list of features that I think are important, and I've used letters to list them on my chart that I made. Your list might be different, but definitely make the list. Basically, for this search, I'm looking for the following. A. Bit depth. Actually, once I crossed off those 4 that didn't have an ASIO driver, there was only the M Audio Solo and the Duo that are 16-bit. But then there's a few that are using 32-bit, like the Steinberg UR22C and the Zoom UAC232. B. MIDI ports. Now, it'd be false economy to not get this feature if you need it, because then you're going to have to spend well over $100 on a dedicated MIDI interface. C. Now, the most useful type is having 2 combi jacks. Many people need the option of 2 mics or connecting a stereo instrument like a keyboard. Combis make the most sense. D is when it has only a 1/4-inch jack as that second input. Now, this might work for you, but it doesn't work for me, because I always need 2 mics. E. Headphones need to have their own level control. Period. End of story. The blend control is a feature that I personally shouldn't be without. I am just so used to having this. I've never had an interface that didn't. This allows you to set the balance between the playback coming from the computer and your live input. This way you can set it exactly the way you want it in the headphones without fussing about inside the software. G. Loopback. If you do screen capture videos and podcasting or like to record music off the internet, this is a must-have feature. So those are the most critical options for me. Then this following on the list are options that might make you choose one particular interface over another. H. This is the option for a dedicated power supply. I prefer this, but it seems about all of these new interfaces are bus powered. But if it has the option, it gets my extra vote. I. Very rare, but I like to have an actual on-off switch. This gets another point. J. Meters. Another nice touch, and if you've owned a few interfaces that have them, it's another thing that's hard to get used to, just having an idiot light. It makes getting that all-important recording level more accurate. Yet another plus point. Okay, balanced outputs are a sign, I think, of better quality gear. Let's just say it makes it that much more professional. But in most cases, we're using pretty short cables, and it's not going to make any difference to the sound quality, even if they were only RCA jacks. But just make sure this is going to be easy to connect to your monitoring system without using adapters. L. Digital signal processing, or built-in effects. Another rare one at this lower price point. Example seems only the Apogee Boom and Steinberg's UR22C have built-in effects. Now the benefit is this can take some load off your CPU, as well as some people really prefer to hear effects while they're tracking. And now the preamps. This is a tough one to research. I spent hours on this one and actually kind of got nowhere. The common statement is that all interfaces come with adequate preamps. Well, adequate is not what I was looking for, but it's actually more important with a 2x2 interface because you are stuck with using those two channels. So about the only thing I could do was start looking at specs if they were there. Like example, Behringer doesn't seem to have any specs to do with the audio quality. But a lot of them, they gave me the signal to noise ratio. So for all you geeks who are interested in this stuff, there's something you can stare at and you can make what you want of it. But in the end, the only ones that concerned me here were the PreSonus, because they were below that 100 threshold they talk about. Then I found this list on a video as I was researching. Seems according to his test, well, the PreSonus interfaces are right at the bottom here. Anyhow, the 95 reading might explain that. This is interesting, and you can see the Behringer that has Midas preamp scores quite well. And I like the looks of this solid state logic, which is way up at the top here, and also the universal volts. So, there are some things to consider. Sadly, there's never a complete list that will show you all of what you were looking for. I'll make a mention here of mixing boards that are also USB 2x2 audio interfaces. There's quite a few of them on the market. A mixer with USB is a great choice for people with a room full of that MIDI hardware. Anyhow, I won't go in too deep because I'm going to make a whole other video on the topic of using USB mixers. So, I made a bunch of short lists of the interfaces using different scenarios and crossing stuff off. So let's walk ourselves through those. So here's our list of all of the interfaces that come with MIDI ports. So this is important to people who do use hardware. And it's starting down here with the two PreSonus ones, which, by the way, were the ones that didn't have the greatest mic preamps, but maybe that doesn't matter to you because maybe you're not going to be recording with the mic. Seemed the majority of them did come with my favorite, which is the Combi Drive. A lot fewer came with the blend control. So that might be an option I might have to forsake. And even a shorter list when you get down to the ones with loopback. If I go to my next page here, here's blend control and loopback. The only one that had those two features was the solid state logic. Then next we had MIDI Combi loopback, but no blend control. Three of the features I want only came on the Motu M2 and the Zoom UAC2. Now, as it says here, these are a list of ones that I found, well, interesting. They weren't necessarily having all the features I wanted, but I found that these were some of the better choices. If I look at those and then I shortlisted it, I came up with these three here. The solid state logic, once again, it's got a lot of the ducks in a row here, as well as it was the one that guy on his website said had the best preamp. It looks like for me, this is the one that I think I'm going to buy. I hope this information was of some use to you, and I'll post the list as a Word document on my website, which will be linked below. Okay, folks, thanks for watching.